Hello and welcome to another episode of A Coffee with Chris, the social media show that helps you create impact. As always, brought to you in association with our charity partners, Big C, who help local people affected by cancer, and Blue Bear Coffee, and they replace your business's coffee to help children that have experienced human trafficking. Today, I've been sipping on their new blend, which is their, here we go, pronunciation, 𝗄𝗶𝘁𝗵𝗲 blend. Oh no, I need to get better at that. Anyway, it's absolutely delicious. I've had it before in their shop this week, and you can buy it online. And as I say, huge amount of impact that comes off the back of buying coffee through those guys. Of course, a huge thanks as well to our podcast sponsors, Oliver Hill and Limitless Film and Media, Mindset HR and Wingfield Consultants. Formalities done. Let's welcome today's guest, founder of Sublevo Creative and head of marketing at Seed Architects, Ben Bowden. Sublevo Creative help professional service providers turn their ideas into impact. I love that line, Ben. Let's kick off with the why. Welcome aboard to A Coffee with Chris. Why should construction companies care more about their online presence in 2025 and beyond?
So, first of all, thanks for having me, Chris. But I think there's a massive myth that construction businesses don't belong online. And I think that's partly due to, in the past, it might have sort of been sort of more word of mouth as an industry in a whole. But I think they have a massive advantage compared to most industries in that their output that they put out is often a building. So it's a stunning visual output. People can go and see it. It's really easy to market a building because it's unlike other things, it's actually a tangible thing that looks really good. The other thing, obviously, is every building, every place that they go, they've all got really good stories, and stories are sort of the lifeblood of any good marketing. And then finally, obviously, you know, just from having maybe tradespeople in your house or things like that, when you want the job doing, there's a lot of big personalities in construction. And if you channel it correctly, it really makes them a lot more likable, it makes them a lot more relatable, and that really helps them out a lot in the marketing. But because there's not a lot of people embracing it, or because it's maybe a slower industry to embrace marketing and coming online, there's a lot more opportunity for success because there's a lot less competition out there. Because because it's such a complex industry and it's often very intricate crafts, I find that if you can find a way to remove a lot of the jargon and actually get people to understand what you do a lot better, it's only going to increase that word of mouth that they traditionally get, because people finally understand what you do and they can actually recommend you to other people a lot better. And they can also, if they have opportunities for themselves to use you, use them. So that's really what marketing can do for them. It's just making people understand the value that they can bring to them.
I couldn't be more with you on every single one of those points, Ben, genuinely, hand on heart. And I love what you said there about the stories and particularly the personalities, because let's be brave, you know, people in that world, they're often out there, and that's not a bad thing. It's an amazing thing. And it's one of those things where if you can channel that energy, enthusiasm, personality, those stories, the fact that they're creating such incredible things, right? This isn't a boring subject, right? It's phenomenal what these guys are doing in this world. And it's almost like they're kind of, they feel a bit awkward to put themselves out there, but yet when they fully and truly commit to organic social media marketing, other types of digital marketing, they can hugely benefit, because as you've perfectly analyzed there, Ben, there's still a gap. Still, so many people in that world aren't truly leaping into digital, which leads me on to my next point, Ben. How does someone in that world start, right? So they know that it's all a little bit outdated. It's feeling quite overwhelming. They're almost afraid to put themselves out there on social media. What, in your opinion, with your huge wealth of experience, Ben, what should they do first? What should they focus on?
I think before you actually start making everything, because everyone wants to jump into all the pretty stuff, like everyone always goes, oh, well, we need a website, we need to start posting on social media, all the sort of pretty stuff. I think what you actually need to do is why you're doing it. So there's something which a lot of marketers use, which is your ICP, which is your ideal customer profile. And I think that really working out that who you want to work for is really important. So you can do that at high levels. You could do it on what industry do we want to work with, what location are these people generally in, what size is the company based on that employees and things like that. But you've also got to think below that. So you've got to think, who makes the purchasing decisions if you're working B2B? So is there a particular role? Is it like a head of marketing? Is it a head of buying? What is the role within that company? What budget do they need to be able to work with you, and what are the attributes that you look for in a good client? And then you also need to think about, well, what does your service actually solve? So if you think about a business and what goals they want to achieve, or typical goals that they want to achieve, how can what you're offering them help them get to where they want to be and solve the pain points that they're having? So they might be, for example, if someone works with me, they might say, okay, I want to double my turnover in the next 3 years. But they go, well, how do we do that? We need to obviously bring more business, more leads into the company. And marketing is just an avenue to be able to do that. So it's about really understanding what their pain points are, how you can help them to what they want to get to, and then really pushing that into everything that you do. So you show the value rather than getting into the intricate details of what you actually do in your craft. And once you've got that sort of basis of this is who we're working with, almost mirror what they do. So you need to think about, where are they going to be? Like, how are you going to get in front of them? How do they talk about what they do? How can you make yourself relatable to them? How do they look? Things like that. Just so you can obviously mirror that style and make it look like you're relatable to them and they understand what you're talking about a bit more. Because then they'll want to work with you, because obviously it's a very common phrase, but people buy from people, don't they?
Absolutely. So with you. And I couldn't agree more, Ben. And actually, I love what you've done in response to that question, because that's probably not the answer that many people are expecting. I think they were probably expecting to hear from you there, like, yeah, get busy with this, or go onto this platform, or design this website. And I love the fact that you've actually just addressed, no, hey, you don't even understand what the actual starting steps are, right? This is the starting steps. Your ICP, ideal customer profile, you're speaking my language, my friend. I think it's such a important, critical activity that so many people aren't doing. It's one of the things that we do with our clients, but before we do any single social media post, they have to do that. It's so important, because if not, you're wasting loads of time, you're wasting loads of budget, which is of course more precious than ever before in this current situation that we're in terms of our economic climate, etc. So moving on to the how, Ben, right? So they've done that bit. How does one then go about looking more professional online, doing digital marketing successfully in your opinion? Because it's really valid, because of course, you know, you've built and rebuilt a creative agency, right? You've got experience in that world. So how does one actually then make an impact in the short, medium and long term?
So I think the initial thing again is just audit what you're doing at the moment, like what's going well, what isn't going well, and then try to maybe just get to the bottom of why it's going well. So if something's going well, this is really basic sort of layman terms of marketing. If something's going well, just keep repeating it until it doesn't go well. But yeah, you look at what you're currently doing, and then after that, I think you want to look at what actually fuels that marketing, what messages you're putting out there. So something that I do with any existing client, and I've started offering it as sort of one-off things now, is it called a brand thumbprint workshop. So what you do with that is I go into a company and I get a business involved. So you get all the team there, and you sort of look at what attributes do they think they're known for, what sort of things do they think other people have as an impression of them. And then you sort of go through this process and you work out, okay, this is what they'd actually like to be known for, but it's not actually what they are known for, or it's not what they may have thought was important, isn't actually important to the client, it's only important to them. So that's not really what you want to put across in your marketing. You want to put across what's important to your client, not talking about yourself. But then the other thing is, once you actually get into making, like putting things out, like, I don't know, website, anything like that, I always think that you should flip the sort of traditional funnel idea. So if you think about where is your user going to end up at the final point, that's what you should start with first. So like I have a lot of people come to me and they go, well, I want to enter awards. I want to, you know, getting news publications, things like that. And I say, well, okay, but you've just told me that, you know, your website might not be good enough, things like that. And all you're doing by getting into TR and awards and things like that is elevating the amount of eyes that are on your business. So you're sending people to something that you're not proud of and you don't think does a good job. So if anything, you're only elevating your own downfall in a way, because it's not giving you the credibility that you deserve as a business. So I think, say if you want the endpoint to be your website, you start on your website and make sure that's really good. Then you work forwards. Well, you do work forwards in that sequence. I always forget whether it's forwards or backwards. But you work forwards in that sequence in terms of, okay, so the website's at the end. Where have they come from to get onto the website? Then you start working on that, and then so on and so forth. So you work almost the opposite way to most people would maybe traditionally think that you do it.
Yeah, it's some fantastic wisdom and strategy there, Ben. Isn't it mind-blowing? You've raised a really point. How many people just do loads of stuff that they just think is the right thing without even consulting their ICP, their ideal customer profile, speaking to their customers? It's very much finger in the air based upon boardroom bias, right? Rather than what their customers actually want to see and hear and want help with. And I love all the stuff you've raised there. Some fantastic points. Take us on a story. I know you've mentioned it already there, Ben. It's important to do so, whereby perhaps because you've worked with a wide range of businesses, right, from football clubs to universities. Can you share a win, a moment where you've kind of, you know, with your time at Seed or Sublevo, where you know the online strategy has made an actual real business impact?
Yeah, so I can give you a couple. So the main one at the moment, which is sort of one of my main clients that I'm working on, is engineering consultant. So he works in really complex situations. He works in like the nuclear sector, nuclear defense,
Oh, wow.
things like that. So really sort of high level things. He brought me into his company initially when I first did my business around 4 years ago. He just started up his company and he said, look, I want to get in with sort of these really high level companies. So I want to get in with the likes of sort of BAE, Siemens, Rolls-Royce, the Ministry of Defence, people like that. And he said, I need marketing that's going to set me up that I can then go into these companies and pitch to them. And obviously they're multi-billion-pound companies. So we set him off with various things, both online and offline, which he could then go into these companies and prepare him with. So that was like his branding, his website, his slide decks for actually going in and presenting to them, all sorts of different things. So we worked with him for quite a few months. And then when I restarted my business in April this year, it had been 2 years since I last worked with him. But I reached out to him and I sort of said, well, you know, I'm back doing, you know, freelancing. What's going on? Is there any opportunity to work together? And he said, the stuff that I set him up with initially has served him so well that he said he won't touch anyone else over those last 2 years. He said he don't trust anyone else to do it. But now he's working with us sort of on an ongoing basis. And what we're doing at the moment, we're doing sort of lots of ongoing jobs. But one of the main things is updating his website from that initial thing. Because obviously when you first start a business, what you put on those forms of marketing might be predictions of what you think you'd like to do. Whereas now he has a much better idea and clearer idea. So I said to him, I said, well, where's the business at now? And he said, well, all those companies he wanted to get into, the Ministry of Defence, Rolls-Royce, BAE, he's working with all of them now on either a consultancy basis or as like an interim director and things like that. And I said, right, so on your website, you must have some really, really strong stats that we can put on there. So at the moment, he's overseeing over £300 billion worth of projects. And I just think, well, that's really interesting because what I set him up with initially has obviously got him into those places. Yeah. I'm not taking the full credit for it, don't get me wrong.
You can.
He's run a full business for it, but it's mind-blowing to me that obviously these multi-billion-pound companies have seen the marketing that I've put together for him, and have obviously then chose to buy off him with that as an influence to them. So yeah, I think that's a massive one. And then have we got time for one more?
Yeah, no, sure, absolutely. But before you do the one more, I wanted to say, Ben, so I'm assuming now what you are going to do or have done is you've almost used those stats, those facts, that kind of revenue, and you're going to kind of put that as almost social proof on the website in the marketing. Is that the situation?
Yeah, so obviously now building out those case studies with the ability to have those brands on there, almost piggyback off their
Yeah.
credibility, is huge for him. So yeah, we're putting him on sort of slider carousels, nice and big as soon as you go on the website, getting stats on every single case study. Everything is
So important. Share stats to back things up. Give me your next one, Ben, as well, because I'm fascinated by what you do and the impact it has.
Okay, so the other one is actually for Seed. So when I went into Seed, the reason I got brought in was because they've been working with a marketing agency where they've been maybe underperforming and they hadn't really understood the intricacies of the industry very well. And they wanted to build an in-house team. So I become the first hire to then go in with the goal of eventually building out the marketing team. So I've now been at Seed for 2 years. And in that time, when I first went in, they didn't really have a LinkedIn strategy. They didn't really have anything for online, anything like that. And in those 2 years, we've got over 500,000 impressions on LinkedIn, which I wouldn't really hold too much value on impressions normally, but I do think it's a good indication that you're getting a lot of eyes on your brand. But the most important part of that is that over that time, it's translated into over 5 figures worth of work for them.
Brilliant.
So
Brilliant.
I think that's the main indicator there. So I always push this thing on my own personal LinkedIn that a lot of people live and die by the whole impressions. We've got this many eyes on our content, but personally, I'd rather have like 10 eyes on my content and 5 of them are people who want to buy from me than 100 people and none of them have any interest in my business whatsoever.
Yes.
They just think that I'm quite funny.
Yes. I'm so with you, Ben. And do you know what? This is the whole reason why I wanted to get you on, right? Because of your own personal positioning and what you've done and where you've been in the industry that you're kind of playing in and supporting with. I cannot recommend it enough because it's so evident that people that take that leap of faith, whether it be with you, with me, with someone else, right, they are able to accelerate their brand. And it just shows that, marketing in that world, it's not just like a fluffy doing it for fluff's sake, right? To create, vanity metrics or impressions, as you've said there, it's converted. And that's so important. But Ben, on this podcast, we always want to make time to show people, highlight the red flags, the things to avoid. So I really wanted to come to you on what are your kind of hot takes, your big mistakes that you see people in that world making that you would say, hey, no, guys, please avoid this at all costs.
I think one thing is that it's around copy. So you see a lot of people, particularly, you'll see it a lot on LinkedIn. So people always do the delighted to announce and like we've had a lovely day out and all this sort of stuff. But then you go on people's websites as well, and like I could go on like let's use architects for an example. I could go on 10 different architects' websites, and it's the same sort of thing. That we've worked in the industry for 10 years. We're in multidisciplinary practice, and it's like it's almost robotic. Like it's really boring, and it's got no personality to it. And the thing is, right, is the whole point of doing your marketing is that you're trying to stand out. So to just do what everyone else is doing sort of defeats the point. Now, the thing is so a lot of people say, look at your competitors and doing what they're doing. But the issue is in construction is that a lot of the time your competitors aren't doing marketing very well.
Yeah, true.
So
who are you always think to copy?
Yeah. So I always think, well, sometimes this is applicable to a lot of industries. If you then look for inspiration outside of that industry, it's sometimes better because you're thinking, okay, these guys are doing things really, really well, but no one else is doing this within our industry, and that's really good because you're obviously seeing that there's a market and there is something that does really well, but no one else is doing it. It's untapped in your market. I know a lot of people talk about how B2B brands should start copying from B2C marketing because it's all like campaign driven and there's a lot more sort of hype built around products launches and things like that. And for example, for surveyors, I'm launching their website tomorrow. We've done a 4-week campaign trying to build hype based on sort of the B2C format of almost as if we're releasing a brand new shoe brand or something like that. Like it's got promo videos, it's got all these little teaser bits, everything like that, because no one else is doing it and everyone's like, oh, well, that's quite exciting. I want to tune in and find out what it is. Whereas if we'd have just put, oh, we're launching a website, everyone's just like, well, so what?
So outside of those copy points that you've made, Ben, is there any other kind of big red flags, other mistakes, or is that the main one from you today?
That'd be my main one, but I think if there's anything else that I'd say is, I think some people give the advice of just post, and I think, okay, it's good to start posting, but I think sometimes if you're posting things that maybe reflect badly on you,
yes, of course,
it's actually worth not posting at all. Because, I mean, you see it a lot at the moment, but I don't know about you, but I can look on LinkedIn, I can tell when someone's written the whole thing on ChatGPT.
Oh, of course.
I think, well, it's okay using something like that to supplement what you're doing, but it still needs the personality. That's the element you need, and that's the element that sells. So my thing is that if you keep doing that, I know there's certain people where I know that they post like that, so I just automatically, my brain switches off.
Yes.
So even if they've then changed what they're doing further down the line, my mind's then going, it's another post from so-and-so, I'm not going to listen to that, I'm just going to scroll past it. So it actually, even though you're only doing it as a filler until you maybe have, the funds or you have the knowledge to be able to do it properly, it might actually be limiting the future performance on what you can do.
It is so well raised, but look, of course, like all things in life, I think it's a balance, right? Isn't it? So, execution of perfection to a certain degree, but at the same time, you're so right. It can detract from your brand. It can almost lock someone's subconscious into the fact that you are just spam. You're using an AI bot. It's quite funnily. It's quite forced. So you're so well placed to suggest that, Ben. The thing that we always recommend with people is like, try and think serving, not selling. Try to help and support your network. Make it about them, not about you. And as long as you're applying those things, it's probably okay. I think, of course, where it goes wrong is people just churn out literally anything, even if it detracts from, linking back to your previous point, brilliantly raised, Ben, about, your ideal customer profile. Do they care about what you're sharing about? If the answer is no, then of course don't post it. So Ben, you've raised so many brilliant points today. Where can people get more Ben? How do they contact you? Where do they get in touch with you?
So my main thing is I post quite a lot on my own LinkedIn, on my personal LinkedIn, which is Ben Bowden. I actually do a video series on there every single Monday where people can comment their own questions on marketing and graphic design, and then I will get back to them and produce a video the following Monday going into it. So it's an opportunity for a bit of free marketing advice, I guess. But then also, obviously, the Sublevo Creative website, which is just www.sublevocreative.co.uk.
Amazing. People, I know that you're listening back right now. I know you're watching back. Go and grab Ben's free marketing advice. Why wouldn't you do that? Ben, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. I really, really appreciate your time.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you so much to everyone that's watching live, watching back, listening back. Really appreciate your support on A Coffee with Chris. If you've got any questions, hey, why not tag Ben in the comments? I'm sure that he'll get back to you with any kind of advice and support that he can possibly give you. Thanks once again to our charity partners and podcast sponsors for supporting Coffee with Chris. And I'll see you this time next week for another episode.